Facebook native targeting for business to business. One of the biggest disadvantages of Facebook is that the targeting for business to business is not going to be as stellar as it is with LinkedIn. That's why in a lot of cases, what you're going to want to rely on are things like custom audiences. However, there are native targeting options that you may want to consider, especially to save time and effort in producing something like a custom list. So let's take a look at what those are. So we're going to see the native targeting options here under a section called detailed targeting. And we're going to hit edit and hit browse. We can see that there are three clusters of options here. The first is demographics, the second is interest, and the third is behaviors. The one that is going to be the most useful for us in business to business is actually demographics. However, most of the demographics are not going to be useful. There's actually just one section under here that is going to be incredibly useful for us, and it's called work. So education might occasionally be useful, but generally not. Financial, life events, parents' relationship, these are all more of business to consumer variables, but the work variables are going to be the most interesting for us. So employers is going to be incredibly useful. Industries is also going to be very useful. And perhaps even more so will be job titles. Now, one of the limitations with Facebook in my experience is that the targeting is often just much smaller. So, for example, going after a particular job title, I may find there are 10 times as many people on LinkedIn. But Facebook offers a number of different advertising options that aren't going to be available on LinkedIn. There are also ways to get ads cheaper using Facebook ads. So it's also just a great way to expand your reach beyond LinkedIn, and that's why you're going to want to consider these options. So my number one recommendation is to use demographics, and specifically the variables under work. Now the second cluster of variables that we have here are interests. Now interest gives us a lot of different interesting options, and we can even just type in any word we want to see if people are interested in that topic. The problem with interest, however, is that Facebook defines them so loosely that you may find that actually 30%, maybe 50%, it varies. The people you're targeting may not actually be interested in that topic. So Facebook is going to use very, very loose, a loose low bar to define whether somebody's interested in a topic. So, for example, if they accidentally click something on their media feed, Facebook's going to assume that they're interested in that topic. In fact, it may be the opposite. It may be that they dislike it. So be very cautious with using the interest targeting. I think you can experiment with it because you can get much more precise. You could also, for example, use demographics as kind of your high-level definition of the target audience and then layer that with interest. I think that would be a safer approach. But I would just be very cautious because what Facebook is trying to compel you to do is to go broad. So back in the day when Facebook first started with advertising, it wasn't based on these loose definitions of interest. It was much more precise and there was much more transparency about who you're targeting. But now it's getting vaguer and vaguer because Facebook basically wants you to go broader and broader, and that's not necessarily in your best interest, no pun intended. Now, the last cluster of variables that we have here is behaviors, which may also be useful, but probably not as often as the work variables under demographics. So we have anniversary, probably not that important for business to business. Consumer classification, perhaps not that important again for business to business. Digital activities might be important, so new active businesses. Often one of the most important elements in business to business marketing is the customer journey, and often that customer journey starts with some sort of trigger event. So trigger events are going to be something like incorporating your business, setting up your business, perhaps getting a new website. So this could actually be very useful because someone that is a new active business within the last 6 months may be in market for buying a bunch of things that are going to be relevant to new active businesses. So we have digital activities with a capital A, but there's also the section of digital activities with a lowercase a, where we can target people based on operating systems, so that might be useful. We also see Facebook page admins, so that could be useful as well. And it gets more granular. So for example, food and restaurant page admins, community and club page admins. So if you're in the restaurant business, this would be useful. If you're in the health and beauty business, this might be relevant. retail page admins, sports page, travel and tourism page admins. Again, useful information from a business-to-business perspective. Internet browser use, this could be useful. So for example, if you're selling a Chrome plugin, then it's going to be useful to target people that are actually using Chrome. That will be helpful. If you're targeting small business owners, that could be useful. Technology early adopters could be useful. Expats, probably more useful from the perspective of business to consumer. A lot of these variables are going to be important sometimes with business to business as well as business to consumer. So mobile device user, and under more categories, another thing that may be used in niche cases would be marketing to people that are marketing API developers. So those are the native targeting options available to you in business to business marketing. I encourage you to experiment, and I also encourage you to be very cautious, because what you may find is that you're getting tons of clicks or tons of video views. A lot of optimistic results may be coming in, but when you actually look deeper into the funnel, you may find those people are not requesting demos, they're not becoming paying customers. And a lot of that may be a function of Facebook simply going too broad with who they're targeting, and they may not actually be a relevant audience. So be very careful with and take with a grain of salt the data that are coming in from the results of your campaigns.